Hi and welcome, it's Dr. D. I do these videos, Ask Dr. D videos, once a month, and I just feel as if I just did this a week ago, but it's already been a month. So I don't know about you, but time goes by really quickly these days. But I digress. Anyway, we had some great questions that people had written into, and I have 3 for today. And so as usual, I want to just kind of dive right in and get to these questions and answers. The first question comes from someone who said that oftentimes her partner will feel like he's being blamed and attacked, and he'll really shut down. When someone shuts down, it's often what we would refer to as stonewalling, right? They give you like the silent treatment. And there's really a lot of reasons for this. One of them might be that they want to diffuse the tension right now that they're feeling, or that they're feeling maybe judged, or they feel guilty. They might also have some feelings of rejection. And so what they do is they stonewall or they shut down, and for fear of that the partner might not want to work through the conflict in such a way. And so as a way to diffuse that tension that they're feeling, they're going to shut down. And another reason why they might shut down is because they have maybe an avoidant attachment style, which lots of people have been reading about. And an avoidant attachment style is one in which obviously the person avoids due to his caregivers really not being available and really not having his needs met. And so how that carries over to a relationship is that he or she might feel like the partner cannot meet their needs as well. And so they avoid a lot of this conflict, but it only just really grows in time. Another reason why a person might really feel like attacked or being blamed or stonewall is they might feel that that actually is kind of like a way of self-preservation, right? So they might do this as like to preserve how they're feeling and to protect themselves, or they might also be an emotional overload. And oftentimes, not really often, a lot of times this can be the result of some type of trauma that they might have experienced growing up. So then once again, we go back to that avoidant attachment style and where his primary caregiver is available for him or to him or her. All that being said, that's some of the background. But you wrote in, what can you do? I think there's a few things that you can do that are really important. First of all, you might want to create a safe space, right, for both of you. Is there a time that you can talk about these things that you're both emotionally available? And the other thing is to really seek to listen and to understand. Try to understand where your partner is coming from, ask some questions, and be curious as to what's creating, or where's the tension coming from that he really wants to shut down. And when I go back to the avoidant attachment style, that has all the things to do with him and very little to do with you. And I know a lot of times people, when they lean into these conversations, and I just suggested, hey, ask some questions and seek to understand. When the person does shut down and when they have that avoidant style, oftentimes the other person, the partner, will personalize them and make them about them. But it really isn't about you. It's more about them and what their experience is. So he'll have some work to do there. But getting back to what you can do, it's really about, like I said, creating a safe space, both being emotionally available. Can you seek to listen, understand, ask some questions? Is he willing to do some of the work? And also to provide some reassurance that you are available. And I think that is really key. And I think that the moments to have those conversations are when you're not in the middle of a discussion, right? I mean, oftentimes the best times to have those conversations are when things are going well, but people don't want to do that because things are going well. And they're like, well, why do I really want to disrupt that? Because the other moments do not work, right? So the other moments when people are trying to have those conversations during really heightened emotions, it's not going to work. So when we lean in and we ask some questions of our partner, as to what's going on with you and why do you feel you're being attacked, and why you're shutting down, as a way to become more empathic or figure out what they're going through. Sometimes the hope is, or we hope that will create a deeper conversation to have, so that you can get out of that pattern and that they can maybe share with you more of what's causing them emotionally to really shut down during this time. And I hope that helps. Okay. The next person writes in, and she says that sometimes she finds herself being defensive towards her partner, even though he's being supportive, and she's defensive because of his past behaviors. And so she doesn't really give him the benefit of the doubt when she knows that maybe she should. And I think that oftentimes this create like that leap of faith and that benefit of the doubt is oftentimes rooted in fear, right? Fear of what if they go back to old pattern behaviors, and what if they're supportive now, but then they're not always going to be supportive. And I think that sometimes if we can tap into that fear, we can say, okay, this is just how I'm feeling at this time, because we know that feelings aren't facts, it's just how we feel. So if you could actually take a leap of faith and say, okay, I'm going to believe him, it often creates a path for both of you to start to do something different, right? And I also feel that oftentimes when we have these fears of, I want to be kind of defensive because if I'm supportive, then maybe I'm going to like let him off the hook for the times that he wasn't supportive. It's really about you feeling strongly that you want to do something different. And how can you give him that benefit of the doubt and take a leap of faith that how he's showing up right now is the way that he really wants to show up. Oftentimes we get caught in the whole confirmation bias, right? We have this bias. We have a bias that this person, or our partner in this case, wasn't supportive before. And so what we do is we seek out those behaviors and those things that they're saying to confirm our bias. So maybe overall he's being supportive, or maybe there was a time that he wasn't. You're like, oh, right, he's not being supportive again. And it really prevents us from creating a new and a healthier path, right? I often think that you can use the analogy of a bridge. You have a bridge that can either connect the two sides or can divide the two sides. And if you're willing to create a new path and do something different, can you create that bridge that's going to connect those two sides? And so by taking the leap of faith, or giving him the benefit of the doubt, and recognizing that he is making these changes, I think will steer you in a different direction and create a good path for yourself. You also have to think to yourself, and like I just mentioned, it's like feelings aren't facts. And so you really want to know where those feelings come from. And maybe they're just feelings. And so oftentimes if we just look at those things as just feelings, we can check ourselves and say, oh, that's just that feeling again. That's just being more mindful of how we're feeling, so that we still create that opportunity to have a different type of conversation. And honestly, if he were to stop being supportive in some way that he was, like, where's that conversation, right? You can always ask, I thought, I really felt like before I could rely on you, you would be more supportive, and I really want to still feel that way. And so, what happened that shifted things? Because when we feel the support of our partner, when we're doing things, we feel, like I've talked about it many, many times, like we can really rely on them, and we want to be able to rely on them. And so giving them that benefit of the doubt and recognizing the things that they are doing, that they are changing, provides us an opportunity to look more positively and look at the changes that person is making. And in turn can also help you make the changes that you need to make. And then I would want to ask you, let's say, for example, that you did take that leap of faith and you're like, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's really working on this. How would you feel about yourself? Would you feel really good? Would you feel like that you're also making changes, and you're making the necessary changes, and you're able to maybe lean into some of that discomfort, or lean into some of that fear that you have that he might go back to those old behaviors? So that's something that also to think about. And so I hope that helps you, and thanks for the question. The last statement is, one person writes in and says that her husband gets defensive and minimizes her feelings. And I don't know about you, but I mean, that's really a terrible feeling, that when our partner, like that person that we really rely on the most, minimizes how we feel. And so emotional validation is a form of emotional abuse, and we have to really talk about that and wonder, like, why is he invalidating your feelings? But before I get to some things that you can do, I just want to really say that, you're important, you matter, your feelings matter, and everybody is important, everybody's feelings matter. And so when we're in a relationship, we want to feel like we matter to this person. And when they're invalidating us, it's like the last thing we feel. If this person is saying, don't feel that way, you shouldn't feel sad, you shouldn't have that feeling, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing any of those things, you're wrong for feeling this way. And it comes across as this truly emotionally invalidating place. And we feel terrible about ourselves. And it's hard, I think, in those moments to think like we even matter. I mean, if the person that's most important to you is saying those things to you, like how would that make a person feel? And so it's important that we're able to, validate ourselves, or reach out to other people that can validate us. But more importantly, it's to seek to understand why your husband is emotionally invalidating you all the time. I have some questions. Is there a willingness to change? Does he have an awareness about this? Are you able to bring this up? Or when you bring it up, does he even invalidate that? I mean, for someone who's not willing to change or has an unwillingness to become aware and make changes, you got a long road to toe, because this is where they're coming from. Now, I'm always curious as to why is it difficult for him to validate how you feel? I mean, is it that he doesn't like it that you maybe feel differently than he does, or he's uncomfortable with how you feel? He's uncomfortable with your feelings. He has a hard time being vulnerable. I don't know, is it self-protection? I mean, I'm sure there's like lots of questions that I have, but those are the questions that you should be asking of him and of yourself when you evaluate this relationship. And like I said, the most important thing is there a willingness to change? And in the interim, when you're asking him these questions and you're evaluating this relationship, what can you do for yourself? And I think that there's a few things you can do. Certainly, setting healthy boundaries for yourself, not tolerating that type of behavior, using phrases, like, I feel invalidated. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I feel like you're not listening to me, rather than you're doing this and you're doing that. Because once we start to use the word you, then each person feels like a caged animal in a corner, right? They're going to come out being very defensive. And so when we speak from our heart and we do these things and we set healthy boundaries with our partner and expressing how we feel, then the hope is that there's going to be more information or different information that you can determine or ascertain, like what's going on in the relationship. And self-care is just really important. Taking care of yourself, doing things that are good for you, and being able to take a step back and look at this relationship and look at what he's doing, and more importantly, what he's not doing, right? And so I think those are some of my takeaways when I hear this. And I'm also very saddened when I hear that someone is being emotionally validated in a relationship all the time, and that, because it just makes us feel really unsafe. And so the goal, obviously, is to create a safe environment where you can talk about things. And just wondering, is there a moment where you can do that? Like I asked before, is there a willingness to sit down and have this conversation where both of you are in a good space where you can talk about these things? And then you can always seek professional help, because when you have professional help and a third party or even a second party just for individually, they're going to give you also good insight and ask you some questions and challenge you a little bit about the relationship. And so I hope that helps as well, and thank you. And as always, thank you for the people that wrote in. I really appreciate it, sharing your thoughts and feelings. I welcome them all. You can email me at hello@kristindavin.com, or shoot me a DM on my Instagram, or write on my Instagram account, or also comment with YouTube. Again, I always am open to hearing from everybody. If you have any thoughts or comments or feelings, want to hear about that as well. I'm a therapist after all, and appreciate it. And thank you again.